Let me ask you something. Two people commit a crime. One is a wealthy businessman who defrauds thousands of people out of their retirement savings, stealing millions. The other is a young man from a low-income neighborhood who steals $100 from a convenience store because his family has no food. Now, here's the question. Who do you think goes to prison, and who walks away with a fine or a suspended sentence? If your gut says the young man ends up behind bars while the businessman negotiates a deal with his expensive lawyer, then whether you know it or not, you already understand the foundation of one of the most important ideas in criminology. It is called conflict theory, and today we are going to break it down completely, slowly, clearly, and deeply, so that by the end of this video, you will never look at crime, law, or punishment the same way again. Conflict theory in criminology is built on one central idea. Society is not a peaceful, cooperative system where everyone benefits equally. Instead, society is a battleground, a constant struggle between groups with different levels of power, wealth, and resources. And the side that wins that struggle gets to write the rules. Those rules are called laws. This theory is rooted in the work of Karl Marx, the 19th century philosopher and economist, who argued that every society is divided into two main groups, the bourgeoisie, which means the powerful owning class, and the proletariat, the working class. Marx believed that the powerful class controls not just the economy, but the political system, the legal system, and even the cultural values of society. For our purposes in criminology, the critical insight is this. The laws of a society are not neutral. They are not written by God or by nature. They are written by human beings who hold power, and they are written in a way that protects the interests of those human beings. Think about that for a moment. When a corporation dumps toxic chemicals into a river, contaminating the drinking water of an entire city, that is sometimes treated as a regulatory violation with a fine. But when a person without money steals food, that is a criminal offense that can result in years in prison. Both acts cause harm, but only one of them is defined as serious crime. Why? Conflict theory says because the people who write the laws benefit from protecting corporations, not from protecting the poor. After Marx, other scholars deepened and applied this thinking specifically to criminology. Two of the most important are Willem Bonger and later, in the 20th century, Richard Quinney. Bonger argued that capitalism creates an environment of selfishness and greed. When a society teaches people that success means accumulating wealth and then denies large portions of the population any legitimate way to accumulate it, crime becomes an almost inevitable response. People do not steal because they are born evil. They steal because the system has shut every door. Richard Quinney took this even further. In his landmark work, he argued that crime is a political concept. The definition of what counts as crime is itself a political act performed by the powerful. Quinney said, and this is powerful, that the criminal justice system does not exist to protect society from criminals. It exists to manage and control the populations that threaten the interests of the ruling class. The police, the courts, the prisons, these institutions, according to Quinney, are tools of social control dressed up as tools of justice. Now, let us make this real with concrete examples, because theory without example is just words. Example 1, the war on drugs in the United States. Beginning in the 1970s and accelerating through the 1980s, policies were put in place that resulted in the mass incarceration of Black and Latino communities at rates far exceeding their white counterparts, even though research consistently showed that drug use rates were similar across racial and economic groups. The laws were written, enforced, and prosecuted in ways that targeted poor urban communities, not wealthy suburban ones. Conflict theorists would say this was not an accident. It was the powerful controlling a population they viewed as threatening. Example 2, white-collar crime. The financial crisis of 2008 destroyed the savings, homes, and retirements of millions of ordinary people. Executives at major financial institutions made decisions that were reckless and, in many cases, fraudulent. Yet, very few of them faced criminal prosecution. Most paid fines. fines that for $1 billion company are basically the cost of doing business. Meanwhile, a teenager caught with a small amount of a controlled substance can spend years in prison. Conflict theory does not see this as a failure of the system. It sees it as the system working exactly as designed, to protect wealth and punish poverty. It is important to be honest. Conflict theory is not without its critics. Some scholars argue that it is too focused on economic class and ignores other important factors like culture, psychology, and individual choice. Others say it's too cynical, that not every law is a product of class oppression, and that many laws genuinely serve broad social interests, like laws against murder or assault. There is also the criticism that conflict theory struggles to explain crimes committed within the same social class, like violence between people living in poverty. These are fair and serious critiques, and no single theory explains all of crime by itself. But here's what conflict theory gives us that we can't afford to ignore: a lens, a way of asking, when we look at who gets arrested, who gets prosecuted, who goes to prison, and who walks free, we must ask, whose interests does this system serve? Because if we never ask that question, we'll keep building prisons and calling it justice. The powerful have always had the ability to shape the story of what crime is. Conflict theory asks you to read between the lines of that story, and the more clearly you read it, the harder it becomes to look away. Thank you for watching. If this made you think, share it with someone who needs to think about it too. And I'll see you in the next one.